At this point, I would like to introduce our instructor. He is known as Artistic. He is a New York State certified teacher, a Uniondale resident, and he's awesome. You're going to have a great time. So at this point, I'm going to hand it over to Artistic.
Thank you, Mrs. Kendrick Samuel. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, all. Welcome to the virtual family program. I'm honored to be your guest for this evening for this Lift Every Voice Family and Community Paint Night. Just want to say, listen, thank you again, Ms. Kendrick Samuel, for asking me to be part of this again. This is my second time actually doing a virtual paint night with the Uniondale Public Library, and I'm absolutely honored to be here with my family, with people who I know, people who live in our neighborhood, my extended family, such as I have Philip here and Jalissa, who was Philip. If you guys see Philip, I got to shout you out. I'm sorry, Philip, but Philip was my student back at Far Rockaway High School when I taught at Far Rockaway. So it's just a pleasure for everyone to be here. Thank you so much for all joining me. I am especially thrilled to have the honor of creating this design that you're about to see. After you guys have in front of you, inspired by the poetry of Nikki Giovanni, who is a graduate of Fisk University, graduated in 1967, my alma mater. So it's really how things kind of go in full circle. I'm so honored and pleased to be able to do this with you. And without further ado, we're going to get into it, okay? So I'm going to actually turn off this camera for a moment and stop the video for this one. I'll turn on the other one so you guys can see exactly what I'm doing. You'll see the picture faced right onto our work, okay? So you guys all ready? All right, ladies and gentlemen, here we are. This is basically what we have. This is your design that you guys have in front of you. Nikki Giovanni's Nikki Rosa talks about family, mostly about African-American family. Growing up at the time that she did, you got to remember that she was born in 1943. And just around that time, basically 2 years later, people were coming back from World War II. Once they came back to America, they were here and had to endure everything from still segregation, Jim Crow laws was still in effect. And therefore, her childhood wasn't necessarily supposed to be so good, but she made great strides to make sure that, and her family made great strides to make sure that her family was happy. So this is a representation of just that, representation of how happy and togetherness the family stood. So what we're going to basically start with, I want to make sure we got all our supplies first. So make sure you guys get this down, please. So first thing is, I don't really need pencils. I'm going to put these pencils on the side. Paintbrushes. Not exactly sure which ones you guys have, but hopefully you guys have a flathead. This is a flathead brush here, and hopefully you guys have that. If not, it's okay. We could still basically make do with it. You also going to probably need a round brush, which is basically just like this. Has a round tip. It could have a slight tip to it, which is fine. Please make sure you guys also have a tissue. Make sure you guys have some kind of paper towel if you guys can. The reason why is because, we're going to take time to actually kind of dry our brushes every once in a while. And so we're going to basically kind of dip in and make sure they dry with a paper towel. We have our palette here, and you can see my palette is really used quite often. And then after that, of course, I'm going to have a little bit of water here as well. So that's basically to wash out my brush when need to be. So just make sure you guys double check that right now. Okay, go ahead and double check to make sure that you guys have these necessary items in order to begin. Okay. Now, while you guys are doing that, we're actually going to start basically with certain spots. So first thing we're going to do is, as you can see, my design is kind of all over the place, has some erasing marks and stuff like that, which is okay. What we're going to do, we're actually going to work on the outside first of the circle. And let me bring this down so you guys can see the whole thing here first. So we're going to work on the outside of the circle first. Okay, so which means that we're primarily going to use our flat brush. We're going to use this brush here. When you're doing this, make sure when you guys press press just before outside the circle first, and then bring this piece of coin into it. This way, if you put it too, what will end up happening is if you get right on top of it, you'll press hard and then the brush will go over it and into the circle. We're going to go right along the edge of that circle, basically right along that line. Okay, basically trace that line. All right. You guys probably want to know exactly what colors you're going to use. It's up to you what color you guys choose. Just make sure that we choose basically a light color for the background as well as here as well. This color be so it's pretty bright if you wish to be, almost like a sun, or keep it cream, whatever you wish. The colors here, we're primarily going to stay with some of the darker tones, especially with the hair for all the figures. And then for the clothing, we're also going to have some darker colors, but also some brighter tones to kind of offset each of the people's clothing. Okay, so let's get started. So first thing you're going to need a lot of white. Okay, so make sure, as you guys can see here in the center, I'm going to put a lot of white in here. On the ends, I'm going to put a little bit of color, and I'm not going to put any black right now. I want you guys to avoid putting any black. The reason why is because you got to think about basically the family itself. Family basically is about unity, about brightness, about seeing brighter days. So you want to keep it as bright as possible. If blackness gets into it right now, it'll eventually kind of mute your colors a little bit more and won't make it as vibrant as you want it to be. So we're going to avoid that for a second. All right. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to point in a bunch of white paint right now. All right. And I'm going to fill this up with a lot of white. Okay. So I have a lot of white here. And all I really need is a little bit of yellow. Like literally a small amount. Blue. And finally, red. All right. So these are 3 colors that we need. You have a yellow, you have your blue, and your red. Okay. You're going to choose your first color. What I suggest that you do is, first off, you're going to choose which colors you want to mix in. And you're going to basically mix these colors into your white. We're primarily going to use all this white for our background. So before you do that, think about what colors you want to use. For here, I'm probably going to try to go more with a peachy tone, I think, for the background. So for peach, I need basically a little bit of orange. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take a little bit of yellow. The reason why I'll go yellow first is because I want to make sure that I don't dip my darker colors into my lighter tones. That will basically offset it, and next thing you know, you have a serious problem. I could use, without having going back, once I scrape it off a little bit, I could go into my red and take a little bit out without actually damaging. And I'm only just using a little bit of red right now. Okay, and after that, mix it up. Mix all your colors on the side a little bit. And see exactly what you like. Okay, if you find it's too dark, then, wash your brush off. And add some more color. So I'm going to add a little more yellow into this. Okay, so it's a really light orange. Okay, and like I said, we're going to basically kind of do a peach tone. So I'm taking a very small amount of blue. You can see just how tiny that is. Okay, mix the colors in. Again, I'm going to probably need a little bit more yellow. Just a little bit. Then mix with the red to kind of give this yellow orange color here. And you can see basically that's all the color I have. And those basically is almost all gone. Once I have this, I'm going to mix all this into my color here. And because I'm going with the peachy tone, I think I want to add a little more red into this. So mix it really well. You want to try to get as even as you possibly can. All right. So I'm actually going to use that color probably for my center. So I'm going to scrape a little bit off on the side here. Get a little more red. Too much. Just a little bit right there. Mix in. Now my peachy tone. There we go. Okay. Whatever color you guys choose, you could do a light blue if you wish. You want to just kind of keep it basic. I decided to go just a little bit extra. It's up to you. It's going to just make sure you're using a lot of white. The other thing that we're doing is we're also now going to take our brush and I'm going to dip it a little bit into the water, right? Because I want to keep this fluid. I want to make sure it really moves on the back. So I dipped it one time. I think I'm going to dip it one more time. Again, mix it in. Keep it nice and fluid. All right. And now what you're going to start with, scrape off your brush a little bit. So this way you have a little bit of paint. Come along the side here. Push down and come and go in towards the circle. And right along the edge. Okay, because otherwise what happens is you'll get a really big clump if you don't. Okay, again, off side, then come into the corner center, push along, and make sure you kind of avoid any clumps if you can along the sides. Okay, and after that, we're going to go up and down. All right, we're going to keep long strokes. Nice, long, deep strokes. All right, and just keep on going from here. The background basically represents our community. It's not just basically outside or outdoors. It's what we see, it's what's around us, it's the things it's the people and the events that support us. It's part of who we are. And Nikki Giovanni learned that a long time ago. Living in Woodlawn. So I'm just going to basically mix around again. Come around close to the circle. Start off the edge first, then push down and come around the edge. You see a little bit of the pencil line still, that's okay. You can see how much paint I have. So you want to make sure you have a good amount of paint, guys, okay? And again, keep it fluid, which means you want to add just a little bit of water at a time to keep it really fluid, okay? I'm just going to take it off top of here. So now I can go in and continue on. All right, starting it off again, close, push down, come around close here. All right, and we're going to do this pretty quickly. Once this is, the hardest part is really trying to get around the circle. Once you get around the circle, the rest of it comes pretty easy. Because even if you get a little bit on the figures, it's okay. Because we made it so light, you might actually still see the pencil line through it. If you can see the pencil line, you're okay. Because then you can always go back into it and cover it up when you need to. All right, so you can see now I'm going into the figure a little bit. If it kind of goes over a little bit, that's fine. So like I said, the figure is going to be much darker than everything else. All right, and just get that paint on. Get it on the edge. Don't worry about going into the figure too much. So I'm not sure about your experiences. I'd like to see where you guys take this. For those who are there for your first time in doing so, we're going to keep it real simple. Add a little pizzazz as far as color-wise. Okay. So I want to make sure, again, I look at my color as I'm doing this. Okay, and I want to kind of keep it pasty, almost like kind of like glue. Don't make it to where it's like kind of dripping. Like if I lift this up, it should not drip out. All right. If anything drips onto my board, that means it's way too watery. So you don't want to have too watery. Okay. Okay. Let's finish this off. Just make sure you add I hope you guys add a lot of white into your work and using it all up, because this here, we want to make sure we get all the white covered. Okay, let's go into the figure here. And close to it again. Start off the edge, close. You can see how easy I am trying to be around those corners. And once it gets to here, once it gets to an edge like this, I'm going to actually turn my brush a little bit and twist it just so I can get over and across and still get the edges. Slightly in between. Okay, just make sure there's no clumps. I know my design is a little bit different than yours. Some of you guys, your head actually goes inside the circle, which is fine. Okay, but that little, just kind of get that. Okay. All right. So we're just about done. I'm going to cover up my colors here. I'm going to try to keep it nice and thick at this point. Now, one thing is, we make our colors. Notice basically I'm using, you can see how small my palette is. I want to keep that color, just in case, if I ever get into a point where I mess up something or I've seen too much white in the background, then I always want to kind of be able to go back into that color. So try to make a lot of this color right now. Okay. Don't be scared to make too much. Too much is actually a good thing right now. Okay. How you girls doing over there? All right. So now, once you guys have your color in, going back and forth, put it in, we're going to get ready to actually do the circle. Remember, you guys are going to try to keep long strokes, okay? Try to keep nice, long strokes. Long, continuous strokes. If you do short strokes, you're going to see the short brush strokes later on. You want to try to keep nice, long strokes. If you have to, you run out of paint somewhere, just go back in, add a little more paint, and extend it again. Okay. All right. So that's our background right now. And we're going to focus on doing the sun, or this is not really, this is what I consider to be the lens. In Nika Giovanni's poem, she talks about, I hope that basically I never have a white person basically judge me and look at this, because they'll never understand basically Black love is Black wealth. I think that was a really powerful quote. And so this basically kind of represents the idea, not just basically the sun, but the lens that sometimes we'll look through from other people around us who don't know about the history, the struggle. All right. So we're going to keep this light. And so I'm going to go with a little cream color here for this one, a little bit lighter. So again, what I'm going to do is I'm probably, actually, you know what? I'm going to add a little bit of yellow into it. So we're going to take a little bit of yellow. I'm going to put it over here on the side like this. And I'm going to take some of the color that I have from the center and plug it into this. This way it slightly matches, just basically a different tinge. And again, I'm just using some of the color that I have that I mixed before. I think it's a beautiful color. Yeah. So let's get into it. Make sure I mix it well. Again, as you guys can see, don't need a whole lot, but I'm definitely going to need a little bit more than this. So first thing I'm going to do is come across, and one really important part of this, what I think that may help you guys. When you're doing this, at this point right now, because you painted so much, you're going to have to kind of lean over the brush, so over the painting. So I suggest use your other hand. If you guys can't, put it underneath your elbow. This way it lifts up and then you're above it. Okay. Otherwise, you can be holding your arm up like this in the air, and it's really kind of tough. It gets tiring. The second tip is try to start basically from, if you're righty, try to start from the right and the left to the right. All right. This way it moves in a little easier. Okay, so I'm gonna get push down. Remember what I said? Push down before you get to the edge. Then once you get there, then you let it go around.
Mike, can you just explain how you made that last color?
Sure. So what I do was, remember the color that I started with at the beginning, which was that kind of yellowish peach color?
Yeah.
That's all I just basically used that color, and I took some of the color that we use for our background and just added into that.
Okay.
So that same color that you used to make this color, I just took this color to add into that. Went backwards.
Okay.
Okay. And I'm going to probably need a little bit more of this color inside.
Good.
So I'm going to rinse off my brush.
Orange that we made.
And I'm going to add a little more of this color into it and mix it. And the big base of this color was yellow, so I can always go back into it and add a little more yellow into this if I wish, which I probably will. Again, you want to try to make a good amount of that, but you got to fill in the circle. Okay. Again, we're starting off. I'm putting my hand underneath my elbow, so I'm above it, and I'm going to push down, and then I get close to the edge and go right around, nice and easy. And do the same thing going backwards here. Push down, come close. And right now, this is where you really want to just take your time. You want a nice clean circle. Again, if it goes kind of light, that's fine. If it goes into your figures a little bit, that's fine too right now. Like I said, the figures are going to be the silhouettes. Okay. And again, you guys could choose whatever colors you guys wish. It's up to you. And add a little bit, again, add a little bit of water too if you have to keep it fluid. But again, not too much. Turn my brush. And this is where it's going to really take a little time. So the first part you guys probably saw, it took us about maybe 10 minutes to do the background. Now we're really trying to make sure we get a nice clean line around. So we're going to get in. I want to make sure I don't see a pencil line and cover. Now, like I said, it's really important to kind of keep that color in the center, because now I'm running out of that color here. So I'm just basically going to add a little bit more of this into here. And then I'm going to just dip a little bit more yellow, just a bit, a little bit of yellow. Mix back into it. And you'll see the color basically come right back together. Because the lighter tones always go into lighter tones, but don't put your darker tones into your lighter tones. I wish I could see some of your faces right now. A lot of you guys have your cameras off. I have to do like I do my students. Turn your cameras on. Okay, so now I'm just going to fill in between my people. Again, it's okay if I cover it off a little bit. I can still see the pencil line through it. I know exactly where I'm at. It's time for me to color them. And the circle part is probably going to be one of the last parts we touch as far as color-wise after we're done painting everybody in. So I'm just checking right now, make sure I have everything kind of filled in. Keep it nice and fluid and moving. No space. I'm staying in the contour, moving in the contour of my shape. So it's circular. I'm not going back and forth. I'm simply still going in a circular pattern and trying to make sure I get those fine details. Like I said, if you guys you still see pencil line right now, try to go over it, because unfortunately it will show. And pencil line is no good, no bueno. So if that means you gotta make your circle slightly bigger, it's okay. Okay. So that's where we're at right now. All right. So once you guys are done, off the brush nice cleaned off, and let's get ready to paint some people. Nikki's poem basically talks about the struggles of her father. It was really interesting kind of seeing what had happened with her dad. Her dad had basically sell his stock in order to try to get into. He wanted to actually move into a place called Hollydale in Cincinnati. Now, Hollydale was actually a new and upcoming all-black neighborhood. But because of some lending practices, some segregated and racist lending practices, he wasn't able to get into Hollydale. And therefore, that's why he ended up moving into Lincoln Heights, a place called Lincoln Heights. All right, so you guys ready? All right, so now you guys got to think about basically what color you want to make the man. Because I like blues and everything like that, I'm probably gonna go with the blue tone. But I actually want a little bit of green with it as well. So I have my blue here. I have my yellow. Yellow and blue makes green. If I use a little bit of yellow, put it off to the side, and add some blue. Do a little bit first. I can see what color I get. And right now, yellow and blue make. What color yellow and blue makes? Yes, green. I saw you. I saw you mouth it. All right. So I'm going to now. I like green, but now I want to actually add a little bit more blue into this, because I like personally, I want to do like a bluish green for him. Now notice I didn't go back into my paint, my water. I'm strictly just kind of using paint right now. I don't need him to be fluid. I need him to be opaque. Opaque basically means that it's very thick. You don't see the background or through it. Opposite transparent. So we're going to use this, and need somebody to turn on their microphones real quick. Just tell me, which one do you rather see me put it? Do you rather see me put it on the top or the bottom? Which color? Where should I put this color?
The top.
All right, so I said the top. Let's go for the top then. All right, so again, we're going to get close. I'm using my flat brush, but honestly, this is really where you really want to try to use your round brush. I should have switched. My apologies. But it still works out. So I'm going to get in here, get close to neck. All right, then I'm just kind of feathering those edges. And you know what? Let's switch over real quick. Make sure we get the edges real tight. So I'm going to use my little round brush. I just wet it a little bit, and I'm drying it almost completely on the paper. And then I'm going back in, and I want to make sure I really get the fine edges. Again, push down outside circle and then come into it, the line. All right, I'm going to go into here. We're going to go over the woman's hair. It's okay. Go a little bit into the skirts. Okay. We just want to make sure that line that goes here, right along the edge, is very, very tight. When it gets out, so get here, push down hard before you get to the edge, and then come into the edge. Okay. Get here, push down hard, then come into the edge. Start outside the edge and come into it. Okay, and we're just going to fill this in. Nice long strokes. And I don't like this edge right now, so I'm going to actually go over this a little bit more to make that a little bit smoother. Yeah, that's better. Okay. So that's the top of Dad. Let's get the bottom parts of the pants for Dad. I'm actually going to go a little bit lighter with the pants. So I don't really need this color, but you know, I always like try to save my color just in case I have to go back into it. I have a little bit left, which is fine. So now what I'm going to do is, it is time for us to get some more white. All right, we use all the white inside here. So now I'm actually going to get a little white. The white's going to help kind of brighten things up when it needs to be. So let me put it over here. Yeah, I'm kind of using a lot of white. Okay, I want to keep it bright. What I'm going to do now is make sure I wash off my brush before I dip into white. All right, and tap. Make sure you clean off your brush. And you guys can probably see me if there's a little bit of color on the paper. Then go back into it again and rinse it one more time. And you still see color. It might be time for you to change your water, but you really want to make sure you don't taint your white. All right, because that's pure white now. We want to use that. And we always want to be able to use that when it needs to be. So let's go into it. I'm going to take some of that same color that I have here, which is the same color as this. I'm going to put off a little bit to the side right here. And I'm going to take some white and mix that in. So basically, this is just a lighter shade of what we had there. And I could keep it light, or you guys could change the color. You can make it darker. We're gonna add a little more blue to it. It's really up to you. Since that's a nice bright tone, I like it. I'm gonna go with it. It's kind of like a turquoise. So again, going close and pushing. Got a little clump there. And some of my color got onto here. That's okay. Push up edges. And then just kind of go right along the edge. Push out before it and go into it. right, so again, I'm doing long strokes now. I keep it together. And going along the edge. I'm trying not to go into mom's skirt right now because we're going to eventually kind of go back into that, and we need to add color to her skirt. So, okay, pretty cool. I like the colors that we have here. Let's just kind of move this up. Looks pretty good so far. All right. Rinse out the brush again. Dab it. Dab my brush. Clean off a little bit. Those who are into colors, you decide exactly what you want to do from this point. You can make that a little bit lighter. You can make that a different tone, darker. It's up to you. I'm actually going to try to make like a reddish orange. The reason why I'm doing reddish orange is because it's going to red and green are complementary to each other. Because I basically did a blue green here, a red orange will complement the blue green very well. And of course, mom, or sure, dad has to compliment mom. Has to. It just has to be. You know, you can't have a family unit without some compliments. Tell them how beautiful they are, how wonderful they make your day. Have you guys said that to your wife? Have you said that to your wife, gentlemen? There you go, Phil. That's what I want to hear. All right, so we're gonna basically make a little blue, little red, orange. I like the yellow to keep here. I can always add more yellow, so that's just a clear color. So I'm going to basically take some red from my red here and just add it automatically into my yellow. Let's see how bright that is. Okay, pretty bright. Let's see, kind of dark. So if it's too dark, I'm gonna add a little more. I'm actually gonna add a little more red into this again. And if I want to, I can add a little more yellow into that. But before I do that, I want to make it brighter. So in order to make it a little brighter, I need to add my white. So take a little white, a good amount of white. You know, don't be afraid basically to add too much white into it, because dark tones always basically overpower the white anyway. So I got this kind of peachy color here with a nice bright tone. So I think I'm gonna make it work. All right, and it's going to here, and I'll just get ready to put them on. So on yours, you don't have a line. I'm just gonna impose where I want the line to end. So her skirt, I'm gonna make end right here. I'm just gonna her blouse, and then the other part will be to begin the skirt. The bad part about this is get right on the edge. Okay. When you have like little spots like this, I see how it's here, and you gotta get that little corner, and it's pretty tough because you just do this. You know, you could kind of circle it in. That's one way. Then sometimes your tip will go in. What I like to truly try to do is I take it and then I'll twist my top a little bit and then go down. So twist around and then it'll follow the circle. Come in, twist, let it come in slightly, and then follow down. Twisting the brush and come downwards. This way you get a nice clean line. Especially the little curved areas. Then getting close, push down. And I'm going to twist a little bit, especially on the curves. Twist. And down here. All right, so eventually what we're going to do is we're probably going to use that twisting element again. You'll see later on, especially when we do the hair. Okay, now it's time to basically do the bottom. All right, so let's figure out exactly what color you want that to be. For me, again, I want to kind of keep it light and bright, but a little bit different. So I'm going to ask you guys, man. I'm gonna ask for a little bit of advice here. What colors do you think I should make the skirt? And it's okay if you guys are falling behind. You guys can always catch up. Go ahead, man. What's up?
Maybe a bright yellow, or would that?
Bright yellow. We wanted to kind of still complement basically the top of this. So bright yellow. Maybe we could still add some yellow into it, but we want to maybe keep a little bit of color with that.
Okay.
So I actually kind of like the idea that you said bright yellow. So let me put some bright yellow inside first, and then just go from there. Where are we at? I need to find a clean spot. Okay, so we got some bright yellow on the side right now. We want to kind of go, if I add bright yellow into this, it's going to be too bright. We want this to kind of still complement that. So we're going to use the yellow, put that on the side. And let's take a little bit, let's take actually a little more yellow with this, put it on the side here. Let's take a little bit of that color that we have in here, just a little bit, and add it into our yellow. Let's see what happens. See what color we get. Okay. Hasn't, that color didn't change yet. Try it again. So we get a little bit more. All right, that's pretty cool color. Remember, you know, we're trying to keep it nice and bright. So we're going to use our white. Come in there, add some white into this. Yeah. That's what's up. Get in there. Yeah, that's pretty good, Phil. Thank you.
Welcome, brother.
Yeah. The yellow, green, well, orange, the orangey tone is a complementary color to the blue. So it's a really good pick.
Want to make the mother have a dress on. Do all that.
All right. And again, we're just basically we're going to go pretty fast with this right here. You know, we're not taking our time because, you know, it's a big skirt. You could just kind of brush it in long strokes. The only place we're going to really take our time is right on the edge. Get close again to the edge, then filter in, and I'm going to twist a little bit so I get some of the color. And let it fall right along the edge there. Cool. Okay, I saw in the chat, you know, Ms. Contreras says she's falling behind a little bit. Contreras, are you still with us, Contreras? How you doing?
Yes, I'm still here. Thanks for asking.
Okay, good. Get in here. Got some colors. And good to go there. All right. It's time for us to do the little girls. And I'm gonna let you guys know if you guys want to add, let's say you want to have another member of the family. For me, I have my son. If you want to add somebody else, you always can. You guys could, add other figures. I'll show you how to do that in a little while. Just to give you an idea what you can do, I'm going to add another figure to this afterwards. All right, just so you guys can kind of see what happens. Okay. All right, so let's go into here. Let's get basically the little girl. Little girl, I don't really see much green in this picture yet, so let's go with some green. You say yellow and blue makes green. So let's get a little bit yellow. Let's put it over here in the center. Spot. I don't need to wash out my brush. It's a real light tone. Get a little bit of blue. Make sure always gotta start off always with a little bit, please. All right. Always start with the smallest amount. You can always build on top of that, but if you go in too dark, it's really hard to get back. All right. So I got my yellow green now. It is kind of muted, a little bit dark. So go into it. Add a little white. Like I said, always basically go with lighter tone first, as much white as you wish, because it'll be easier to actually make it darker if you have to. Okay, and now let's go in and fill the little girl up. Again, twist around the edges to get that circular motion. Twist around curves. Twist around curves. And then if you have a very fine edge, you go use a small edge around the edges. But the curve where it really works. As you can see right now, mine is a little thin, my paint. That's primarily because I left a little too much water in my brush, which is okay for right now. Because if you basically find where your paint is a little too thin and this is the color you have, just leave it. Don't try to keep on going back over it, because all you're going to do is just basically continue picking up paint. And it's still just going to thin out. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to basically fill in as much as I can right now. And then stop and just leave it. I like this because like a pear shape, see the pear? Right. So good color to choose. I'm just going to leave it for right now. Eventually I could go back into it and change it up. All right. So lastly, we have the oldest sister. Yeah. Nikki Giovanni's older sister was named Gary.
Gary?
Yeah, it was actually Gary. You have to also remember that Nikki Giovanni's real name is Yolanda. Yolanda Giovanni Jr. So then it was easy to basically just name your daughters close to the same name, and you should still add Junior to it. My mother's name is Yolanda. Her name is Yolanda. But sometime along the lines, her older sister Gary started calling Yolanda Nikki. Hence, therefore, Nikki stuck, and that's how we came with the name Nikki Giovanni. So we're gonna basically work on her now. So let's go into C. Got some colors in here: reds, orange, blues. We probably want to do like some kind of blue, probably. I think maybe a blue, or even close like a purple. Ooh, I didn't think about that. Purple is opposite color of yellow, right? And we have this yellow orange is kind of inside here. So That will work really well. So it's time to test you. How do we make purple?
Red
Uh-huh.
and blue.
Go ahead. There you go. So red and blue. So I have blue here. I have some red. Now remember, I always say, try to basically take from your lighter color first, put it on the side, and then add a little bit of dark color into it. I don't really have a spot right now. And I don't think I'm actually going to go back into use red. And I have all my spots kind of filled with some of the colors I need. So I'm actually going to take some of this blue, a little bit, a little small amount, and add it over here into my red. I'm just going to mix on along the side a little bit just to see what comes out. And right now, you guys can see this here is a red violet. So if I want to go with that color, I could. Let's just go like this first. So I'm going to take my little brush, paint my paint. It's kind of dark. Let's add a little more blue into this. And paint it if you guys have to, paint it on the side a little bit. And then once you have that down, you know we're going to add into this. A little white to line it up. Maybe bright. Okay, so now you can see, I add some white, put that color next to it. That's how it's brightened up. And you know, anytime, especially if you guys have newspapers like that, you can always basically kind of point on the side and look how it looks. If you like it, then put it in. You know, always basically try to mix your colors outside first before you actually put it onto your painting. So I'm actually going to use a little more white to light it up a little bit more. It's not going to be much difference, but nevertheless, it's there. All right, and time to paint her in. And I'm going to do this pretty quickly, okay? Nikki's sister actually had a little bit rougher than Nikki Giovanni did. Growing up in the neighborhood when they first moved to Cincinnati, there were no black schools, and the schools weren't segregated. So she actually had to live with her, I believe her aunt, for a little while. Elementary school before they moved into Lincoln Heights. All right, so we got our colors here. Nice bright tones. And again, make sure we get those edges. I really don't want to see any white in the background. See, I made a little mistake up there. That's all right. Go back into it, get close. See, some of my red got mixed into it, which is fine. All right. All right, so we got it really colorful. All these different types of tones. Now, all right, it's time for us basically now to work on the hair. Okay. This time, this is where we're going to add our black. So I'm going to take a little bit of black. Just one big squirt. That's how much black I have right here. The one thing I want to avoid is just using black by itself. I never like actually trying to use black by itself. So what I'm going to do is I'm actually going to add a little bit of color into it. So because I have some blue in here, why not basically kind of use some of the blue that I had from here and add a little bit of black on the side and go in. And I'm going to make this hair, again, I'm not really dipping into water. You want to try to keep this as thick as you possibly can when doing this. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to come in on the edge and I'm going to curl my brush, twist it. Keep it flat on the side, push it down first, and twist and lift. And just continue the same process over and over again. If you guys go outside a little bit of line, that's fine. And then I want to add, just let me make sure I have a little bit of that color or that blue into it. I don't like it basically by itself. Just want to see a tinge of it, a little hint. All right. It's going to be real important for you guys to try to actually turn your brush into this when you're doing this, because we want to see some of the curl pattern in the hair. And that's because later on, we're going to have to actually add in the highlights into this. So how am I doing, ladies and gentlemen? Am I losing a lot of you guys? What's going on?
You're
You
doing
guys
good.
know. Good to hear. Thank you. All right. And we're just basically going in and turn it. If you ever need me to go back or explain anything to you guys, please don't hesitate. Okay. So now you can see his hair stands out. It has a little tinge of blue into it. And now mom. Now we want mom's hair to basically stand out over his. So we're going to use for her a little bit of red. We're going to take a little bit of red from here, add it into our black. Whatever color you guys choose, just make sure it's a slightly different tone than dad's. And you guys can make it a little bit lighter if you want to as well. You know, it's up to you. I want her hair to just be a little bit different than dad's. And I'm going to do the same thing with hers. You know, pushing down on the side of the brush like this and then just twisting and lifting up. And just kind of let the brush kind of flow a little bit. So you can see there's a very slight difference between mom's hair and dad's hair. Okay, now when I get out to here, on the edges though, I want the edges, I want her those nice little curls, you know. You ever see Nikki Giovanni's hair, I think it coming from mom. She has a little bit of curl to it. So we're gonna come out just a little bit and curl out a little bit. Just like a little swoop. Twist it and outwards. Now lift. So as you come out, just try to lift up if you guys can. Just lift up the brush slightly. So come up and lift. So it has a little bit of curl to the edge. And eventually what we're going to do with that, we're going to add highlights into that, and it's going to really pop out. All right. I like nice little curls. If you want to just keep it all together, that's fine too. Just make sure you load your brush at the very edge and allow the curls to pop out. Okay.
We get a chance. Could you show us how to make purple again? We over here struggling.
Sure, got you. Let's do that right now. So I'm going to need a little more red now. So I'm going to go back in and get some red. I'm going to put some red at there. Yeah. Oops. Okay. So with red, what you're going to do is basically you're going to take your red first. Let's find a spot somewhere over here. We'll put it over here. You take your lightest color first, the red, put it on the side. Let me bring this into frame, bro. Put your red on the side, and then take a little bit of blue. Not that much. And then add into your red and mix it. And your purple's going to come out. Now, some of it's going to be, if it's, this is reddish, this is a red violet. I'm actually bring this up a little more. I'll show you guys. So this is a red violet here.
Okay.
All right. If you want to make it a little deeper violet, just add a little more blue into it. But I suggest that once you have that down, go back into it and just add a little bit of white. Just see along the edge to see how it comes out. So have it there, and that's your purple. Got it? It help?
I'm trying it now. I was cleaning off my brush.
All right, cool. Remind me now, I'm looking at my purple up here. A little bit more purple on the edge. Okay, so now let's just get the girls here. So green, it's not green miles really for a taste. So I'm going to basically use the purple and the blue, the black together to make their hair. All right, I'm going to use basically a little bit of purple and the black mix to make their hair. Again, come in, twist, twist. Go opposite way, twist. Now for little girls, moms, especially then, you should braid their hair. So we're actually going to add a little braid into this one. Let's get in here. I'm actually going to add a little more darker color to this first. Twist, twist. Opposite twist. All right. So we're going to add a little bit of braids. So what we're going to do is on the edge down here, we're going to come down this way. Make sure you guys lower the tip of your brush, no water. And you're going to do a slight curve like this. And then go the opposite way. And then kind of go across. And then do the same thing again. Twist. And down. And then once you get to the edge, you basically just edge it off like that. Now you see I kind of kept mine open. Guys go back into it and fill a little bit more. Just don't paint it in. And I'm going to show you the reason why. Because we still have to add highlights. And that's going to add with the highlights. So I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Twist. Opposite. Opposite going down. And just thin out the brush real thin when it gets down to the edge. Okay. And could fill it up a little more here. And I want to, because she has braids, I want to kind of keep this kind of tight. So I'm just gonna fluff out the edges a little bit. Curl there. And do the same thing for the oldest daughter. All right, again, I'm gonna use a little purple. Why not? Now, you guys could actually use whatever color you want to for the hair. If you want to add a little blue, a little red into it, it's fine. You know, because the hair is not contrasting anybody else's. It's just using the background. So I'm gonna curl this way, I want this from here, and then go the opposite way with the center. Curl. Okay. And finally, we're going again, we're going to add some more braids into it. So come down here. Let's make these braids kind of tight. 1, 2, 3, 4, and thin out. Same thing on this side. 1, 2, 3, 4, and thin out. Okay. All right. So here we go. Everything's pretty filled in pretty well. You decide for more advanced painters, you can start basically showing a little bit of shadows, like where basically some parts touch a little bit more, so you can go a little bit darker by adding just a little bit of black into your color. But for the most part right now, what's really important are the highlights, and that's what we're going to work on right now. So the highlights, you're simply going to take basically a little bit of white. You can, if for me it helps, it's basically just kind of mix a little bit of whatever color I have, like say for instance, like her shirt. So I could take a little bit of her color, put on the side, and add some white into it. And then wherever it curves, wherever you see like really long curve, like say for instance, her shoulder and it's outside based on along the lens, that's when you want to start adding your highlights. So I'm going to start, let's say for instance, with mom's top blouse. So I'm going to come across a real thin line and down and just lift up. So curve there and lift. So same thing with Dad's shirt. You can see on the outside of here. So we're going to just take a little bit of white, just along the edge, and finally just lift. Okay, so press down and then lift. So it creates that little gentle edge there. And anywhere you see kind of little curves, anywhere there's little curves, especially along the outside of the hair of the background. So I see a little curve here, so I'm going to go here, lift. See a little curve here, so I'm going to do it here, and lift. And I'm just kind of go along any little curves I see, and lift. So slight curve going this way, so I'm going to do a slight curve that way. And those highlights are really going to make a big difference. Shoulder, as you guys see, shoulder should definitely always have a highlight. On one side, you don't have to do on both sides, just choose one side. Okay, and let's do the same thing for baby girl, baby Giovanni. And let's go here, it's a curve. And you can see there's a curve on the outside here, so that's some white. And let's add the curve right there and lift. All right, those highlights are going to really kind of make things kind of pop, especially now when it's time for us to do the hair. So remember all those nice big curls we did, and we did circular motions. So you're going to do the same idea right along the edge of a curve. I'm going to come in and just give a little bit of a highlight there. And every once in a while, like inside, I'll see some highlights there. And your paint might still be a little bit wet. It's fine. It's okay if it's still wet. A little curve there. All right, and just real gentle touches. Now make sure it's a nice thin tip to the brush. So let the little curls come in. See another curve here. Let's go opposite. And of course, we're going to have some inside. Not going to be a lot, but just enough. Right now, just strictly just using the white. And notice how those pot, especially since the paint's still wet, it mixes really well. So it's like curves. Nice, real pretty here. Again, we're not doing a whole lot, just little spots. Real light, gentle touches. Okay, you see how thick it is for Dad's hair up here. You can still see it's wet. Then we're just gonna go in and do the same exact thing. Find little spots where it curves. Inside, we see a little curve here. Just mix it in.
Mother's hair. The mother's hair is everything.
When you get a chance, could you just explain how you? Because I know you said you didn't for the hair. You didn't use straight black.
Mm-hmm.
Even if you say what you used and not show it to you're doing something with the hair, you're in a good spot with the hair.
Yeah.
With the highlights, but if you could just explain how you did the color of the hair.
Okay. Not a problem. Let me just finish doing a couple curls here, and then I'll go into.
Okay.
Yeah. Looking at any curves here, get into it. Any little small curves, and doing real light touches. Real light touches. Make sure you kind of go and lift. Lift. Okay. Soft and lift. You see how it really kind of stands out, how it starts really kind of popping. So with the black and color. So let's say, for instance, right now on my palette, you guys can see I have a little bit of red in it. So what I do is basically take whatever color I have, put it on the side, and then I take a little bit of black and just add it into it. Now you can automatically see it looks black. To you, it may look kind of black, but if you compare that black to this color, it's a slightly different tinge. All right. So that slight difference is a big difference in the hair color. So when I paint on the side, I push it down. That's the color I get with that. And if I use the black, just strictly black, that's strictly black. You see, it's just a little bit darker than it is. All right. So that's basically how you mix color. You know, that's how you basically get the hair colors. Full slight tinge. Like when you look at it, like you see mom's hair now, you see how mom's hair pops off from dad's hair, how different it is. So I made his hair a little bit darker blue, with her hair a little bit more purple in it. It's basically a darker color, darker version of this color here. All right. I have like these so. All right, so we're just gonna basically finish off the little highlights we have. So you can see now, there's a little highlight here on the edge. And then we got to go into the girls here. So let's finish up the girls here. So curve there, curl. And remember those little spots we left open? That's because we're going to add a little white in between. Just a little white in between. Still curve it a little bit still. Every opposite way. And where it curls on the edge, just get the very edge and get that curve in. Okay. From the top of the hair, I'm really going to kind of go wild and go this way, then that way, because I want to tend to actually part it down the center. All right, so the little highlights really kind of pop. Let's do the same thing for a big sis down here. So curve there, opposite, curl, opposite, Right away. Opposite, and just keep on doing the same thing. And we just do a little bit, curls this way. It seems like it's parted down the center. All right, let's do the same thing over here. Keep those edges of white, that crisp white. There's the dark tones. Gonna really make things pop. Okay. I remember I said, if you guys want to add shadows into this later on, you guys can. I don't think it's really necessary all the time. So like say, for instance, for her skirt here is got that color there, that same color I used before. So you can see I still have that same color there. So in order to basically, you just find any darker tone if you want to add a shadow into it. So say, for instance, I use this color here. I can use as a little bit, a tinge of another color, just a little, like that small amount. Mix up a little bit with the other color here and just kind of go along the edge. So you have that little shadow. And you can mix some of the shadows throughout the skirt. Just every once in a while, it's a little spot. Like I said, it's not really totally necessary. And because we're running out of time, definitely don't have to. I'm just a shadow guy. All right, just give a little flow to her skirt. Just a little flow to her skirt. And I gotta make sure I still add those highlights into it. Okay. Guys, we're starting going down time. Any questions, guys? We have about 5 minutes left. Just want to ask if there are any questions that you guys have. Anything you want me to go back over? Anything you want me to touch upon? So again, this is only if you want to add shadow, but it's not fully necessary. Those shadows do make a difference, but up to you guys. All right, so shadows step up. And now just add a little small shadows where the indents are. So remember, it has a curves, basically highlights. Indents will have shadows. Curves, highlights, indent, shadows.
Artistic.
Yes.
I know you're working, so you probably don't see the chat, but I just want to let you know that people are saying this was really an enjoyable program.
All right, good.
Someone agreed. They found it very relaxing and fun. So
Beautiful. Beautiful.
awesome.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah, I'm glad you guys really enjoyed it. I had a really good time painting with you guys, with everyone here. Again, if you guys want to continue on with your own by yourselves, with me off camera, please do so. You don't need me to continue. You guys have the gist of it. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask right now. Otherwise, I'm pleased. I'm so happy to actually have painted with you guys today. I appreciate your time. Just turn my video for a moment. Thank you guys. I really appreciate your time. I really had a wonderful time doing this. I hope you guys did so well, and I love to see. Yeah, I love it. Love it. Please hold your paintings up if you guys can. Everyone, please can hold your paintings up for a moment. I really would appreciate it. See what you guys came up with. Wow.
Oh,
That
this is
purple.
awesome.
Oh my goodness, the purple tones are amazing. Yes, Abby, and Abby decided to add some patterns into her piece. That's
That
one thing.
purple background is fire.
Word.
That purple background is fire.
Yes.
That purple is dope. Amazing.
Everything.
Contreras,
I love that
love-
sun.
man,
Oh my gosh, the sun on the other paper.
Contreras is amazing. Ladies and
Green
gentlemen,
and black too. Those are
Sure, we gotta
beautiful.
work on these. I'm mad.
you guys have just brought me so much joy watching this. This is, to me, yes, little one, I love it.
Thank you so much for the program. Thank you. We should do more.
And this is a pleasure for me. I just seeing you guys create did for me. I appreciate you all. Thank you so much again. Have a wonderful night, everybody.